Finally got a date with my high school crush, but I tripped over in my high heels and knocked all the food off the table. Let's rewind to high school. I was the quintessential nerd, glasses, braces, the whole 9 yards. My crush, let's call him Brad, was the walking definition of teenage heartthrob. Think Zac Efron, but with better hair. I used to doodle his name in my notebook while trying to figure out if X plus Y equals love. Fast forward to now, 10 years later. Thanks to the wonders of social media, Brad and I reconnected. After some casual chatting, and by casual, I mean me screaming into a pillow every time he replied, he asked me out. I'm pretty sure I experienced temporary paralysis when I saw his message. Now, I'm no stranger to dates, but this was Brad. High school crush Brad. The guy who made my heart race like I downed 6 shots of espresso. I had to look perfect. So, I dusted off my best little black dress and, for reasons I still don't understand, decided that high heels were a good idea. A little backstory on me and high heels. We have a tumultuous history. The last time I wore them was probably in college, and it didn't end well. I think it involved a twisted ankle and a lot of embarrassing photos that still surface at family gatherings. But I thought, hey, it's been years. Maybe I can pull this off. The date was set for this cute Italian restaurant downtown. Fancy enough to impress, but not so fancy that I'd need to sell a kidney to pay for dinner. I arrived early because punctuality is attractive, right? Or maybe I was just a nervous wreck and needed a moment to collect myself. Take your pick. Brad walked in, looking like he'd just stepped off a magazine cover. Meanwhile, I was already feeling the blisters forming on my feet. We exchanged pleasantries, and I managed to keep my cool. He was charming, funny, and as gorgeous as ever. Things were going great. We ordered our food, and that's when things started to go south. Our waiter brought over a tray of appetizers. As he was setting them down, I felt a sudden urge to adjust my heel, which was digging into my foot like a tiny stiletto of doom. Big mistake. As I shifted my weight, my ankle decided to betray me. I tripped, and in a desperate attempt to catch myself, I grabbed the edge of the table. This, of course, resulted in the entire table tilting precariously. The waiter tried to save the situation, but it was too late. The appetizers, in all their delicious glory, went flying. Mozzarella sticks, calamari, and bruschetta rained down upon us like some kind of Italian food apocalypse. Brad's shirt, once a pristine white, now looked like a Jackson Pollock painting of marinara sauce and olive oil. I was mortified. My face turned the same shade as the tomato sauce dripping from Brad's chin. There was a moment of stunned silence. The entire restaurant seemed to pause and stare at the walking disaster that was me. Brad, to his credit, just laughed. Well, that's one way to start a date, he said, trying to wipe some sauce off his shirt with a napkin. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. But since that wasn't an option, I did the next best thing. I started laughing too. Because honestly, what else could I do? The absurdity of the situation was just too much. The waiter, probably fearing for his own safety, quickly brought us new appetizers and some extra napkins. Brad and I cleaned ourselves up as best as we could, and he assured me that it was no big deal. He even joked that it was the most memorable date he'd ever been on. Not sure if that was a compliment, but I decided to take it as one. We finally got around to eating, and it turns out that Brad and I had a lot more in common than I'd thought. We talked about our favorite movies, music, and the crazy antics from high school. He even admitted that he'd had a crush on me back then but was too shy to say anything. Cue internal screaming. The rest of the evening went surprisingly well. We laughed about the incident, shared embarrassing high school stories, and bonded over our mutual love of cheesy horror movies. By the end of the night, I realized that while my clumsiness had made a grand entrance, it had also broken the ice in the most spectacular way possible. As we said goodnight, Brad gave me a hug and said he'd love to do this again sometime, minus the food fight, of course. I hobbled back to my car, heels in hand, feeling oddly at ease. We had a great time, and despite the mess, it was a memorable first date. When I got home, I reflected on the night. Yes, it had been a disaster in many ways, but it was also the most fun I'd had in a long time. Brad had seen me at my most awkward and still wanted to see me again. Maybe there was something to be said for being authentically yourself, even if that self was a walking calamity. After that, Brad and I started texting regularly. Our conversations flowed easily, and we quickly set up another date. This time, I opted for flats. It wasn't long before we were officially dating, and to this day, we still laugh about our chaotic first date. We've embraced the craziness, and it's made our relationship all the stronger.